You sit at your desk, the coffee going cold for the second time, and a familiar feeling settles into your chest. It's not the workload that weighs on you, it's something else. A quiet but persistent suspicion that the version of yourself showing up at this office every day has left a vital part of you at the door. You were sold a story. Every onboarding deck, every town hall, every mission statement slapped across the company website told you this place had a purpose, and you could be part of it. You bought in, and now you feel trapped anyway. In 1934, the Boeing company adopted the first modern corporate mission statement, declaring its aim to be the world's leading aerospace company. That single phrase sparked a wave of purpose-driven branding that would define the next 90 years of business. But here's the question. Nobody asks out loud. What if the entire idea of a corporate purpose, the whole promise that your company genuinely cares about your fulfillment, was never designed to work? And that's the kind of question that keeps you turning the page, isn't it?
The dotted line
If you want
shows
to keep
the journey
uncovering
from the
these hidden
starting
mechanisms
point to the
behind the
next layer
stories
of
you've
our
been sold,
adventure.
subscribe so you don't miss the next layer of this map. And tell me in the comments, what was the first corporate purpose you remember feeling hollow in your gut? The one that made you start suspecting the whole script was false? Think back to Frederick Taylor. In 1911, he published The Principles of Scientific Management, a book that would change the shape of your work life forever. Taylor argued that a rationally designed workplace could eliminate human waste, that there was a single best way to perform any task.
Behold,
the worker was a
the engine
component.
of progress.
Efficiency
With
was the
every
god.
turn, the
And for
gear of
decades,
efficiency
that was the
lifts us to
explicit,
new heights.
brutal philosophy of the
The
corporation.
behavior symbol
You
on the
were a
right
pair of hands.
replaces the
Then
individual worker
something
figures,
shifted.
simplifying
In the
schematic.
1970s, as the labor market tightened and
1970s,
competition
as
heated up,
competition rose
smart
sharply,
executives
so did
realized the
feelings of
old
resentment
Taylorist
among
model
the populace.
created resentment, not loyalty, so they changed the packaging. The factory floor stayed the same, but the walls got painted. They started hiring you for your brain, your passion, your whole self. The modern corporation rebranded from a machine into a family. Now, here's what you need to understand about how this got inside your head. In 1989, management professor Denise Rousseau formalized a concept called the psychological contract. It describes the unwritten, unspoken set of expectations between an employer and an employee. You offer a fair day's work and loyalty. The company offers stability, respect, and meaningful growth. This contract is never signed. It's never written down. But your ancient brain treats it as a sacred bond, as solid as a handshake carved in stone. Your mind evolved for 200,000 years in small, face-to-face groups where a broken promise meant exclusion and death. When your employer shakes your hand and says, "We're a family," your primitive neurology doesn't process that as marketing. It processes it as a survival commitment. And that's the trap. Your brain is wired to find meaning in a circle of 30 to 50 faces you'll see for a lifetime. The modern corporation offers you 2,000 faces on a shared Slack channel, a new VP every 18 months, and a merger that erases the company you joined. Yet, it asks you to feel the same loyalty. In 1990, William Kahn published his research on personal engagement and disengagement at work, and he found that employees who reported low psychological safety in their organization showed a 0.64 standard deviation increase in emotional exhaustion. That means you aren't failing to disconnect from work. You're responding rationally to an environment your brain was never designed to navigate. You're trying to form a survival bond with an entity that treats you as a line item on a spreadsheet. And when that bond breaks, the fallout is measurable. Denise Rousseau followed 342 manufacturing employees over 6 months. Those who experienced a violation of their psychological contract showed a 31% rise in burnout scores. It's not burnout from too much work. It's burnout from a broken promise your brain never got permission to forget. You're not tired because of the emails. You're tired because part of you knows the contract was violated and you have no ritual, no legal recourse, no tribal council to address it. You just ghost in and out of Zoom calls, feeling the slow leak of meaning. This is the moment where the pattern becomes impossible to unsee. And that's exactly why you should subscribe, to share the weight of this recognition with a community that's waking up to it together. Drop the word violated in the comments if you've ever felt that quiet, unresolved breach somewhere in your own work story. Because naming it is the first step out of the fog. Then came the great unraveling. By June of 2022, 4.2 million American workers quit their jobs in a single month, the highest monthly total on record. The headline was The Great Resignation, but the subtext was a mass, wordless recognition that the psychological contract had failed en masse. Gallup's 2022 State of the Global Workplace Report found that only 21% of employees worldwide feel engaged at work. The other 79% are present in body but absent in spirit, or actively working against their employer's interests. That is not a workforce problem. That is a design failure. You told yourself that the tinge of dread you carry to work every morning is personal. You need a better therapist, a better manager, a more fulfilling role. But the brain that's feeling that dread doesn't know what a role is. It knew what a camp was. It knew what a tribe was. And it knows, at a level deeper than words, that it's been asked to join a family that can fire it with a 2-week email notice. The dissonance you feel is not a flaw in you. It's a proof that your mind is working exactly as it evolved to work, in a world that no longer exists. The 2008 financial crisis triggered a surge in employee engagement literature, and Gallup's 2010 State of the American Workplace report introduced the Q12 survey, now the global standard for measuring your connection to your job. Companies spend billions on engagement programs. They hire chief purpose officers. They craft value statements. But in 2023, the Pew Research Center found that 41% of American workers still reported feeling stuck in their job, defined as would stay even if they could leave. More than a third of the workforce is stockpiling loyalty for a contract their employer no longer honors. You aren't staying because the mission is real. You're staying because your brain, the same one that kept your ancestors alive by not leaving the group during the dry season, has a default setting that says, stay close, even when the resources are gone. You stay because the alternative, stepping into the unknown without your tribe, activates the same amygdala signal that fired in your hunting-gathering ancestors when they thought about leaving the band. An fMRI meta-analysis in 2021 showed that chronic job stress activates the amygdala 0.42% bold signal increase and reduces activation in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex by 0.35%. Your brain is literally dimming the part that thinks clearly and brightening the part that fears abandonment. You're not making a free choice. You are responding to an ancient threat detection system that has mistaken your quarterly review for a question of life and death. You have to stop believing the company's story was ever written for your benefit. The United Nations Global Compact, codified in 1999, transformed corporate social responsibility into a global branding framework. The same year, Tom Peters and Robert Waterman's phrase, corporate culture, was already a decade old. What began as a tool for efficiency, Taylor's rational machine, became a tool for belonging. But the machine never turned human. It just learned to sound human, because human voices keep you compliant better than any time clock ever could. Here's what changes. You stop asking whether the company's purpose is real. You start asking whether it was ever designed to be your purpose. The research points to a clean answer. In the early 2000s, Cameron and Spritzer at the University of Michigan found that exposure to purpose-driven corporate narratives increased employee identification by 0.46 standard deviations, but simultaneously increased cognitive dissonance when the actions contradicted the messaging, leading to a 1.73 odds ratio for higher turnover intention. The stronger you buy the lie, the more it breaks you when reality hits. The only way out of the trap is to see the trap. You feel stuck because your brain is doing what it evolved to do, keep you inside the group, honor the contract, avoid the shame of being cast out. That instinct is 200,000 years old. The corporation that exploits it is 100 years old at most. You can finally stop mistaking an evolutionary reflex for a meaningful commitment. This is the insight that can change everything. The moment you stop blaming yourself and start seeing the ancient wiring for what it is. If it resonates, subscribe right now so you don't lose this clarity. Let this channel be your anchor as you keep pulling back the curtain on the hidden design of modern life. And in the comments, drop a single word that captures the feeling you now recognize inside yourself. Maybe it's relief, anger, clarity, or something else. That word is your first piece of agency. When you feel the pull of the mission statement tomorrow, remember that Boeing had a mission statement before it had a female pilot in the cockpit. Remember that the phrase corporate culture was invented by management consultants, not shamans. And remember that the deep sense of wrongness you carry into work every morning isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that your brain can still tell the difference between a real tribe and a quarterly earnings report. Trust that signal. It might be the only honest thing in the building.